Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're looking at Do the Work by Steven Pressfield.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to kind of tackle this idea of resistance.
Right.
So, if you've ever felt like something is holding you back from achieving your goals, from doing what you want to do, this is what we're going to kind of break down today.
You know what's so cool about Pressfield's take on this is that he doesn't just say like, oh, resistance is tough. He actually like makes resistance a character.
Yeah.
And that's what's so helpful, I think, for people to see. Like, it's not you.
It's not a personal failing.
It's not a personal, it's a universal thing that we all struggle with.
Yeah, it's like everyone is in the same boat.
Yeah.
But if it's so sneaky, how do we even know when it's got us?
Well, that's the tricky part.
Yeah.
Because it disguises itself as perfectly logical thoughts.
Right.
So, think about a time when you had a great idea but talked yourself out of it.
Yeah.
That's resistance at work. It might be saying like, you're not ready, you're not good enough, you don't have enough experience.
What if I fail?
What if you fail?
What
if people laugh at you?
Right.
And these are the things that resistance will tell you.
So it's not just me hitting the snooze button in the morning when I should be working out. It's actually like this is like a battle for my willpower.
Yeah.
I feel a little bit more epic about that now.
It is.
So you're saying that it can even be people that we love that are giving us resistance.
Absolutely.
That's a little wild.
Well, like your significant other.
Right.
Or your parents might say to you, well, don't quit your stable job for this risky business idea.
Right.
And they mean well.
Right. They're trying to protect you.
They're trying to protect you.
Right.
But Pressfield would argue that that's resistance talking.
Interesting.
Because you're not taking that leap of faith that could lead to something really incredible.
Okay, so we're not just fighting our own doubts, we're fighting the doubts of other people that are projected onto us.
Exactly.
That is wild. How do we push back against this?
Well, Pressfield suggests this really interesting idea.
Okay.
He suggests using stupidity
As an ally.
Okay, now, before people think that we're advocating for being not smart,
Right.
what exactly do we mean by stupidity?
What he means by stupidity is like not overthinking it.
Oh, okay.
Like having that initial spark of an idea and then just going for it.
Okay.
Before you give resistance a time to build its case against you.
So less analysis paralysis.
Yes.
More just do it.
Just do it.
Like Nike.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that I can get behind that. Do we have any historical examples of this?
Oh, yeah, tons.
Okay.
Think about Charles Lindbergh.
Okay.
He was told it was impossible to fly a plane across the Atlantic solo.
Yeah.
And that was insane to everyone else.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was crazy. But he didn't get bogged down.
In the why nots.
Yeah, in why it couldn't be done. He just had this blind faith.
Right. In his vision, and he just went for it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But what happens when you hit those inevitable challenges?
Yeah.
Do you think that you should still have some element of planning and...
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
He acknowledges that there are going to be roadblocks.
Right.
He calls them the wall of self-doubt and the big crash of setbacks.
Okay.
But what he says is that these aren't signs of failure.
Okay.
It's all part of the process.
Okay.
And that's when another one of his allies comes in, and that's stubbornness.
So we're supposed to be stubborn.
A little bit.
I like where this is going.
Yeah, just a bit.
What does that look like practically?
It looks like not giving up.
Okay.
When every logical bone in your body says this is too hard, go back to the safe space.
Right.
Go back to what,
Just give up.
Yeah, just give up. But he makes this really great point that our journeys are harder than, say, Navy SEAL training.
Whoa.
Because they have a structured environment and they have people that are there to support them all the time.
Yeah.
We're often in this battle alone.
That's true.
So it's much harder.
So it's not really a weakness if we want to quit.
Yeah.
It's just part of the human experience.
That's part of the human experience.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But if logic isn't always going to be there for us to tell us like, hey, you're doing the right thing.
Right.
What can we rely on?
Pressfield talks about blind faith.
Blind faith.
Yeah. So think about blind faith as the belief in the vision.
Okay.
Even when you can't see the whole path.
Okay.
So he compares it to like a box.
Okay.
And he says no matter how many times you open it, there's always something in there.
That's a really good way to think about it.
Yeah.
So even if you feel like you're lost, there's still something there if you keep going.
Keep going, you'll find it.
I love that. And is there anything else that we can kind of do to help us to bolster that?
He talks about the importance of passion, like having that real deep love for your project, that's what's going to fuel you to keep going.
Yeah.
And he says that the more you pour your heart into your work, the more you attract things like resources and ideas.
I like that it's like the universe is saying, like, I see that you're dedicated to this, so I'm going to help you out.
Absolutely.
I like that. But all this sounds really abstract. So how can we turn these ideas into like a plan?
Well, Pressfield gives this great framework, and it's called the 3-act structure.
Okay.
It's really simple but powerful for any project.
Okay, so before we get into that, I think we need to take a moment to let all this sink in, because
There's a lot.
This is a lot.
Yeah.
Resistance, stupidity, blind faith. We'll be right back, and we're going to unpack this 3-act structure and give you actionable advice that you can take today.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're back and ready to tackle Pressfield's 3-act structure, which I'm really excited about because you mentioned that he uses all these really interesting examples to illustrate how it works.
He does.
Okay, so let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, so he actually connects the structure to The Last Supper, to Bob Dylan's Positively 4th Street, the Vietnam Memorial, Facebook, and even Moby Dick.
Okay, Moby Dick, I gotta know.
Yeah.
How does Moby Dick fit into this framework?
Okay, so think about it. You have the beginning where we meet Ishmael and we learn about his desire to go to sea.
Right.
The middle is all about Ahab and this crazy pursuit of this whale.
Yeah.
And then the end is that final confrontation that they have.
So even something as complex as Moby Dick can be broken down into these 3 basic components.
Absolutely.
Okay, so can we apply that same structure to, say, writing a business plan?
Absolutely. So the beginning would be your initial idea, your market research. The middle would be developing your strategy, taking action. And the end would be launching and seeing it thrive.
It gives us that roadmap.
Yeah.
But it's not about sticking to it rigidly.
No, it's a framework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so even with a roadmap, we're bound to hit those detours.
Of course.
So what does Pressfield say about navigating those moments?
Well, this is where those allies come in.
Okay.
Stupidity, stubbornness, blind faith.
Right.
These are so crucial when we face what he calls the big crash.
The big crash.
Yeah, those major setbacks that can make us want to give up entirely.
Okay.
He actually gives an example from his own life.
Okay.
When he was writing his book, The Profession.
Uh-oh, tell me more.
Yeah, so he thought it was done. He was really proud of it.
Right.
He showed it to some trusted friends and colleagues, and they hated it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what that must felt like.
So he went through this period of intense self-doubt.
Right.
But he was able to pull himself out of it by remembering that the crash is not a reflection of you.
Okay.
It's just a problem to be solved.
So separate your identity from your work. Okay.
And he says that a professional, whether you're an artist or an entrepreneur or whatever, you don't internalize success or failure.
Okay.
It's about detaching from the outcome and just working through the problem.
He also talks about Navy SEAL training.
Yeah.
And how they have that bell they can ring at any time.
To quit.
To quit.
Yeah.
And it just shows that you need this mental toughness.
Yeah, it's so important.
To push through.
Yeah.
But he makes this really good point that our journey is actually harder.
Yes.
Than Navy SEAL training.
Because they have that support system.
Right. They have those people.
They have that structure.
And we don't.
Yeah, we're often on our own.
Okay, that's true.
So when we feel like quitting, it's not a personal failing.
Right, it's just part of
being human.
Being human.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he also talks about how those crashes can actually be really valuable because they force you to re-examine, to learn from your mistakes. Yeah. And they make you more resilient.
Okay. So let's say we push through all of that. We have our big crash. We get through it.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Then we face the final test, and that is exposure.
Exposure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Putting your work out into the world for everyone to judge.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's why resistance keeps us from finishing anything.
Right, because it's safe.
It's safe.
In our little bubble.
Exactly. Yeah. But he really emphasizes the importance of what Seth Godin calls shipping.
Shipping.
Like finishing and releasing your work even if it's not perfect.
Okay.
He tells this great story about the premiere of King Kong Live.
Oh, yeah.
A film that he co-wrote.
And that did not go so well.
It did not go well.
I think I read the review in Variety.
Oh, yeah.
And it was rough.
It was rough.
But he learned something from that.
Yeah, he learned that it's so important to finish and to ship.
Right.
regardless of the outcome.
Okay.
It's about overcoming that fear of success.
Right.
That fear of judgment.
Yeah.
You just got to take that leap of faith.
Right.
Trust that the world needs to see your work.
It makes me think of that quote. Our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Mm-hmm. It's that we're powerful beyond measure.
That's so true.
So we're actually afraid to shine too brightly.
Yeah, I think that ties in so perfectly with what Pressfield is saying about resistance.
Right.
It's that voice that's telling you to play small, to stay hidden.
Nice, safe.
Yeah, to avoid risk.
Right.
But by overcoming that,
yeah,
you can tap into that power.
And by sharing our work with others,
yes,
we're actually encouraging them to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So it has this ripple effect
yes.
of creativity and courage.
I love that.
Okay, so that brings us to another really crucial concept that Pressfield talks about, and that is assistance.
Assistance.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
It sounds like the opposite of resistance.
It is.
So this assistance you mentioned sounds like the opposite of resistance.
It is.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's like that force in the universe that wants you to succeed.
Okay.
Wants to help bring your creative vision to life.
Right.
And it's there to guide you and support you.
Okay.
But you have to be fully committed to doing the work.
I love how Pressfield connects this to classic myths and legends.
Yes.
Where like the hero always has a helper or a guide.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Theseus and Ariadne or Jason and Medea.
Yeah, he uses those examples to illustrate like this unmanifested potential.
Right.
Like the dream that's just waiting to be realized.
Okay.
And it's the passion, the love, the enthusiasm that you pour into your work that draws in that assistance.
Like the universe responding to your dedication, being like,
yeah,
I see you.
Yeah.
I hear you, and I'm going to help you out.
Yeah, he gives a great example with Charles Lindbergh.
Okay.
And how much resistance he must have faced trying to get funding for his solo flight across the Atlantic.
Great. Can you imagine all the people being like, you're crazy. This is never going to work.
Absolutely. It was insane at the time. But he had this incredible self-belief.
So how did he stay so committed?
Pressfield says it was the power of the dream itself.
Okay.
Lindbergh's passion for his vision, his absolute love for the idea, was so strong that it helped him overcome all those doubts and obstacles.
Right. He was so aligned with his purpose that everything just kind of fell into place.
Exactly.
I love that. Okay, so this assistance, does it always show up in some big mystical way?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
He says that it often appears in very practical ways.
Like what?
Like a timely piece of information.
Okay.
A chance encounter with someone who can help.
Right.
Or even just a sudden shift in perspective that allows you to see the problem in a new light.
So it's about being open to receiving help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And recognizing those opportunities when they present themselves.
And the more you kind of immerse yourself in your work,
yes,
the more you get to attract that assistance.
Exactly. Pressfield talks about how work in progress generates its own energy field.
Okay.
And that field draws in the ideas, the resources, and even the people you need to succeed.
It's almost like reframing the creative process from this like solitary struggle against resistance to like a collaborative journey where you're working with the universe.
Yes.
To make your vision a reality.
I think that's one of the most empowering messages of do the work.
Yeah.
You're not alone in this journey.
Right.
There's a force inside you and a force in the universe that wants to see you achieve your goals.
This has been such an amazing deep dive into Pressfield's work.
It has.
So as we wrap up, what is the key takeaway?
The key takeaway is that recognizing and overcoming resistance is a lifelong journey. It's not a one-time battle. You're going to face it again and again as you grow.
And it's about remembering those allies that you have.
Yes.
Stupidity, stubbornness, blind faith, passion, and assistance.
Call on them whenever you need a boost.
Yes. And to our listener,
yes,
we leave you with this question. What dream or project has resistance been holding you back from?
Yeah.
And what step can you take today to start moving forward?
Absolutely.
Remember, you have the power to do the work and achieve your goals.
You do.
So silence those voices of doubt. Tap into that creative energy.
Yeah.
And start creating the life that you've always dreamed of.
Absolutely.
And when that resistance shows up, remember what we talked about today.
Yeah.
Go back to Pressfield, connect with your support system, and know that you have the strength to overcome any obstacle.
Keep doing the work.
Until next time.
Yeah.
Happy creating.